Welcome, 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 family. We so appreciate your leadership. We're going to give it a minute or two for our colleagues to join. But once again, let's appreciate your punctuality. Folks, right on time at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's absolutely incredible. Greetings, Sister Shayna, my beloved sister. Greetings, Kwamina. Greetings, Sophia. Greetings, Amanda. Greetings, Zachary. Greetings, Sandra. Good to see you. Sandra, usually on camera, so today I guess we don't get to see you, but you've been attending all the sessions. Thank you so much for your leadership and consistency. Kwamina, wagwan, my brother. Good to see you, family. We appreciate you. Good to see you, family. Thank you so much for being on point and being on time. You know what I mean? We're going to give it a couple minutes for folks to join. But once again, we really appreciate everyone attending the Dream Legacy Foundation Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub BEC Leadership Series in partnership with SETSI. This Black Futures, Black History Leadership Series has been remarkable. We're coming to the close soon. But once again, we just really appreciate your punctuality, your leadership, your diligence, and all the folks that have been coming out, registering. My brother Obi is going to put a link in the chats, specifically around the survey that is so imperative in terms of ecosystem mapping of Black entrepreneurs across our country, which helps us collect high quality disaggregated data, which also helps us to inform best practice in terms of engaging entrepreneurs. Thank you, Obi, for putting in the chat. And Obi, while we're at 16 people in the spirit of African excellence, we're gonna begin because folks will start joining. Obi, if you can start the video and then we'll go into the land and the ancestral acknowledgements. So go ahead, Obi, if you can launch the video, please, my friend.
Step into the transformative Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub BEC, a pivotal federal Black entrepreneurship program component. In partnership with Carleton University's Sprott School of Business and Dream Legacy Foundation, BEC endeavors to revolutionize our comprehension of Black entrepreneurship in Canada. Beyond a mere hub, BEC encompasses 6 regional research hubs, generating vital data to empower Black founders nationwide. Discover the stories of Black entrepreneurs in the Dream Legacy Foundation, spearheading BEC initiatives nationwide. We unite a community of entrepreneurs, nonprofits, schools, and researchers. As the central hub, Dream connects individuals and supports Black entrepreneurs in Canada. Join our live Zoom sessions on Thursdays at 2 p.m. EST to acquire new skills and be part of the exciting journey. What else does the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub offer? Delving into the role of a database for Black entrepreneurs in Canada, BEC provides a potent networking tool linking entrepreneurs with like-minded individuals, partners, mentors, and advisors. Navigate the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem with BEC's map. Engage in surveys representing Black voices accurately, contributing to a nuanced understanding of diversity in entrepreneurial landscapes. Amplify your voice by completing the survey and be a vital force in shaping the narrative of Black businesses' success in Canada. Join us in building a thriving future for Black entrepreneurship. Let's join forces to shape the future of Black entrepreneurship in Canada, amplifying our stories, experiences, and collective impact for a thriving and successful community. For more resources that support Black entrepreneurs, click on this link.
So thank you so much, Obi. And as mentioned in the video, if you can please click on the link at some point and fill out that survey, it'll help us with our work. But we're a few minutes past the hour. We want to start in the spirit of African excellence. And we'll begin by doing what we always do, which is acknowledging and giving thanks to our Creator. We give thanks to the original stewards, the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our ancestors, all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our ancestors whose bones lie at the bottom of the transatlantic, those who said freedom or death. We give thanks to all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We give thanks to all our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So we welcome today one of my favorite people under the sun, my beloved, brilliant sister, Minnelle. My sister is a death doula. My sister is an entrepreneur. My sister is a beloved colleague. And Minnelle, can you please, I will not do you justice, can you please introduce yourself to our remarkable entrepreneurs and leaders in this space and share a bit about your remarkable work?
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much. I love that we started off with the love from just seeing people on camera and all of that, because this is a really important, but we're going to do a family chat. We'll talk about it. So yes, my name is Minnelle Williams. Think of Michelle, but with two N's for those who see it and forget how to say it. Minnelle. I am a licensed funeral director, End of Life Doula, death doula, same name. I'm a certified executor assistant. I like to call myself your end of life educator. Not many people love the end of life death space like me. This is a passion of mine, and definitely supporting the community, talking about it, teaching about it, and making it comfortable is one of my passions. So, hello, you might know me where I work as a pre-planning funeral director. It's at the New Haven Funeral Center. That is the only Black-owned funeral home in Ontario. So I'm very proud to be there and to support our community in that capacity.
Incredible. Thank you so much for all that you do for so many. We so appreciate you. So, in terms of this work, yeah.
Yes.
So, what's inspiring you right now in your work? Like right now, obviously, there's many entrepreneurs in the space here. What's inspiring you? What has you curious? Or what's keeping you up at nights in terms of this work?
Two things. The inspiration side is that I have been doing this. I've been in the teaching side for, I'd say 10 years. I've been a licensed funeral director 15. So I've been here for a while. And I have been out there in social media on presentations like this, talking to people, really trying to push the idea of planning sooner, talking to younger people, saying, let us get some affairs in order. Let's start talking about some things. And it is finally starting to snowball. People are starting to start having these conversations, and we're starting to do it younger. So I love that I'm here. I love that we're talking to entrepreneurs, because whereas before nobody was thinking about, okay, you know, what's going to happen with the house? What's going to happen with the business? Now we are. And now we're not just thinking, too bad, you know what they used to say, right? You know, years ago, people would be like, doesn't matter to me, just throw me up in a garbage bag, I'm not here. That's no longer the way people speak. Now we're thinking, what's going to happen for my children? What's going to happen for not just the next generation, but the one beyond? So that mindset changes everything. So that's what's exciting for me. What's keeping me up at night? The same thing. Because a lot of people, because of what I do, they call me, but they're calling me a little bit too late. They're calling me to say, hey, Minnelle, I got a diagnosis. I don't know what to do. I got kids. I got to prepare. And at that point, I can't help you the way I'd want to. And unfortunately, because of where I am, that's when people call. So it's rough, because I want to do more than I can. So that's what's keeping me up at night. But I also know that it's changing, and we're starting to make these decisions a little bit sooner. So we can talk a little bit about all of that.
Absolutely. So you're a serial entrepreneur. I've known you have an incredible entrepreneurial spirit. Not only do you do work in Canada, you sent me the article in Antigua where you're, promoted, and so I'm so excited about all the work that you're doing. Period. Now I'm not going to blow up any spots. It's all good.
Thank you.
But the fact remains that as an entrepreneur, I feel that you're doing some innovative work in terms of ensuring that our people have some form of legacy, some form of succession planning. But a lot of people aren't familiar. They're familiar with funeral homes, and you work with a funeral home, Black-led. But a lot of folks aren't familiar with the concept of a death doula. Could you articulate that a bit for me?
Yes, I love that. That's getting into the conversation. Many times, so let's say we're going over estates. Most people know I need a will, I need power of attorney documents. You get those two sets of documents completed, they're signed, they're put away. And then you don't have any information, you don't have any further discussions. So I'm going to use myself, put my story out there. My dad, we're going through dementia with my dad. The reason I became a death doula is because of what I'm going through with him. If you don't tell me, you give me authority as a power of attorney to say, you have the authority to make these decisions on my behalf. But if we don't talk about what that means and what decisions you want me to make for you, I still don't have any instruction, and I still can't move forward. So a death doula, one, helps you kind of bridge that conversation. I get into that space with you to talk about end of life and talk about what's important to you. Here's an example. A lot of times people say, I want to pass at home. Okay. You have many options. Maybe you don't know that you can have hospice, actual care, come into the house to help to care for you at home. There's a lot of supports that are there for you, but I'm also going to talk to you about what does that mean for you and what does it mean for your family? Because maybe if you're at home, it's going to be comfortable. But does the family want that? Do they want to have this memory of you being in that room every single time they walk into the door? Perhaps they do. Perhaps that's where we took care of you. We were able to love you, but maybe that's not the case. Maybe what's really important to you is to have immediate access to care and immediate access to morphine or something like that. If that's what's important to you, maybe being in a hospital setting is going to be better, right? So having these discussions about what does death, we plan our weddings, we plan our birthdays, we plan everything else. But when it comes to death, we kind of avoid, you're hit with it. You don't have any other choices. Then you just kind of follow whoever professional is saying something, you follow them because you don't know what else to do and you're overwhelmed. I'm trying to help you have this conversation before you need it so that we know how to act. So really doing that and even getting into, for me, the life story. Now, if we're, at the end of our lives, let's talk about what's important. We've got finances, we've got estates, and those things we know to do. But how about sharing your story? When my grandfather passed, the first thing I did was go find my phone to listen to the old recordings that we had, where he told me about the time he almost drowned, because that's what's important. It's the story. So how do we share those? How can we incorporate the grandkids and exterior family members and friends into our story at the end of our lives? That's what we do as death doulas. That's what I like to share and talk about.
That's absolutely beautiful. This is why we build. This is why I call you my beloved sister, because you're doing the work and you're doing it from a place that's mission driven and not just these imperial, colonial, capitalistic frameworks, but you genuinely care about people, about families in our community. So I just like every time we talk, you inspire me. You're one of the only people that can get me in a meeting on a Saturday.
We find the time. Yes.
Yes, we find the time. So my next question, what challenges and barriers do you face in terms of engaging our community as it relates to estate planning? And how are you and your team working to overcome some of these challenges?
Okay. So one of the issues and one of the barriers that I notice is with anybody dealing in the death space, it's that I'll deal with this later. We will do this talk. We'll have this information sharing. And then what? What is the next step? Right. So I've been doing this for a while, and ways that I'm helping families is to say, okay, now I'm going to walk along this path with you. I'm going to give you the information and not just leave it to you to hope that you'll get it done, because I'm a person too, and I'm just like you. I have been working on my will for some time. I've got a couple already done, but I want to adjust it. I have a couple of years. You've got to make sure you've made those adjustments, and it will sit there. And I'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it next week. And next week doesn't happen. Okay, I'm going to get to it next week. Again, it doesn't happen. So having someone to be accountable, to start telling you, okay, follow up on that. And then the second part is we don't know what we don't know, right? So in the community, I know I need a will, a power of attorney. I need a funeral plan. I need a cemetery plan. I need a legacy plan. I call those the 3 Ps: your paperwork, your planning, and your personal legacy. Okay, but now we're talking to entrepreneurs. Do you have your insurances set up? So in case something happens to you where you're not able to work for 3 months, will the business continue? Will your family be able to sustain themselves? Because those are 2 different things. If you are the order taker, the processor, all of those things, who will take over that role? On the financial side, who will take over the bills that need to be paid in that time? Also, we talk about, we're entrepreneurs. You have a will. Does your will mention your business? In passing, we just saw the story, they did the doc just the other day about Beverly Maskell, her beautiful story as being the first Black woman to own a beauty supply. I remember her, my mom was a hairdresser. So she, we would talk and we'd be going to her shops, things like that. And this is just in the 1970s. But when she passed, without a legacy plan, without anything in place, unfortunately, that whole business, the multi-million-dollar business, closed. So now I love that we're talking generational wealth. We're not just talking, what's the first thing I can do for me, but now we're talking about how do we set that up for a family. So teaching how to do that, who you need to talk to set these things up, is part of my passion now. I feel like I went way beyond the question you asked, but I hope that helps. Yeah.
That more than helps. And I think that's what people came here for, to get the level of breadth and the robust, comprehensive information that you don't learn in school. This is not something that you're taught in high school or post-secondary
Mm-hmm.
education. These are things that folks struggle with, especially in our
Yes.
community, when there's a lack of capacity strengthening as it relates to very specific ecosystems and sectors. So I give thanks for your leadership. My next question, do you have a set of key priorities right now in your work?
Yes. Right now, my goal is to teach, is to get on different stages and share this information. Because as I've learned, we don't know what we don't know, I've said, right? So the more that I can share this information with others, and I'm setting up some tools really to help you, guide you through that process. Because as we're sharing, I hope that everybody that is here is going to hear what I say and just tell one other person. Because regardless of the size of people's estates, it's important to plan. A lot of the times we'll think, I just spoke, you speak with different people and they'll say, I don't really have a big estate. I don't have very much to share. It's fine. But you don't realize, I do, because I'm in the death space, what happens after you pass. If it is a $5, if it is a vehicle, if it is, a watch or something that you have, it's amazing what happens to the family when they're trying to decide who's going to get what they're going to receive, right? So it's important that we have these talks. And that's why I really think it's important to share this message as much as possible. And I'm not saying that in a negative way to say, oh, people are all going to come out fighting for your little bits. That's not that. It's everyone is trying to do the best they can. And the issues arise when my understanding of you saying, oh, that car, you're going to take that car. When I pass, you take it. That's going to help you. Oh, you drive so well. Thank you so much for driving me. I'm going to take care of you. It's different things that we say throughout our lives that our families hear. And then at the time of our passings, they're going to bring those things up the same way I go back to my grandfather's memory. I want to go right back to that thing. They come back to that memory of what you said. Nobody is wrong. But without it being clear, you have issues. And the reason I share, the reason I talk is because I want to avoid generational divides as much as possible. Because that's when it starts. When you have an unclear estate plan, when your legacy is not stated, when your family doesn't know exactly what you want, they don't know how to move forward. And that's where we'll start fighting. And then generations down the line, we're no longer communicating. And that doesn't help our community at all.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
For the folks that just joined, could you go over the 3 Ps again quickly?
Yes, absolutely. So my 3 Ps. So my business, everything is called Ending Well with Minnelle. And I use that because it's easy to remember. You can find it on YouTube all throughout as well. Ending Well with Minnelle. And what I talk about are the 3 Ps. You have your paperwork. Your paperwork includes your will, your power of attorney documents, and your advanced care directives. It's not really a document that needs to be notarized or signed, but it's important to use to help decide what you'd like to have happen. The next one is planning. Planning involves planning your funeral, planning your cemetery, whether that's burial, cremation, entombment, shipping home, whatever you'd like that way. And the last one is your personal legacy. Now, personal legacy is sharing your story. And that's where we're coming up with a beautiful tool that uses AI to tell your story. And that's called the legacy story. So there's all these different aspects of the 3 Ps, your paperwork, planning, personal, story. Remember those 3, because we don't know what we don't know. I feel like I said this a million times, but the goal is to get a full estate plan done.
That's incredible. And once again, you're showing that entrepreneurial nature, an AI tool to help with legacy, succession planning. Like, I feel like playing that whole song, legacy. Like, listen, you make our ancestors proud. So my next question is, as an entrepreneur, how have you implemented estate practices in terms of your own personal legacy and succession planning?
Hey, okay. So there's a few things that I am doing. First thing that I have, hello. So the first thing that I've done is I had to be my first client. I had to make sure that I did all of my paperwork, that I set everything up so that I know, one, what it's like for you when you're going through this process, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, I have set in place things like the legacy story, right? I'm coming up with different tools that we can use to support each other in planning our legacies. Now, that's not just a tool you go and you complete it, But if you go to the funeral home's website, there's an online planner there. You can do your whole funeral plan online without even having to talk to anybody, because we're trying to do things as quick in this new age. It has to be easy. I set that up. There's things for me when I talk about my legacy, it's I want to leave my mark in this world in the death space. I want it to be, and that's what's happening, where you think, oh gosh, someone is passing, or you think, oh my goodness, legacy. I want you to think of Minnelle. And I want it to be so that it's set up so easily for you so that you can follow these steps. That way, there's no questions, there's no hesitation. See how we're talking right now? This is what it's like when we sit and talk about death, because it is a difficult, it is a scary, it is an unknown topic. Estate planning, it's hard not just to talk about the reality of death, but also now I have to show you everything that I have. We have to talk about my finances. We have to talk about my debt. We have to talk about my homes. We have to talk about the home that's been passed to me from my family overseas that I don't know what to do with, and it's overwhelming, and I'm dealing with my other cousin who's fighting with, like, there's a lot involved. So the goal is to do it in this way where it feels comfortable, where you feel empowered to have this conversation. And then on the flip side, for our seniors, to let them know that what they've done is enough. To let them know that for us, we're talking in Canada right now, you came here, because I say this, let me give you a preface this first. A lot of our seniors, what I've found is that they don't feel comfortable talking about their estates, talking about what they have in their accounts and that, because they feel as though it's not good enough. And if there's one thing I can do, I will scream from the mountaintops that by you coming here, leaving your home and creating a space for us in this country, you have done enough. We honor them. We thank them. You've given us an opportunity to grow and to continue. And just by that, right? So empowering them in that. And in doing that, they're more comfortable to share. Because if you're not comfortable talking about it, you're not going to plan, you're not going to do anything. So creating a comfortable space, that's key.
That's incredible. And once again, it speaks to the grace, mercy, compassion, empathy, and diligence that's required in this work. So now I see the clarity around the doula aspect. It's International Women's Day in a couple of weeks, and we're having International Doula Day, but it's all about birth. And I think, yeah, and I think we have it every year. But I think when I think about a death doula, now I get it. Like, it's really about making sure that folks feel comfortable, are able to transition or end well with Minnelle. I love it.
Yes.
So my next question, how do you feel about the future of estate planning in Canada? Are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic? Are you hopeful? How do you feel?
I'm hopeful because, especially within the community, more of us are planning. I need for us, I'm a little bit fearful because a lot of people don't realize that the homes they're trying to pass to their children might not get there in the way that they think. You know, if you have a mortgage on your home still, is there insurance to cover that cost? A lot of people don't realize, like, they have your insurance policies to cover your funeral, you know that, but there's estate fees. You know, if you entrepreneurs, if you have a business, do you have taxes that will need to be paid? Most likely. Do you have the fees? Do you have insurances and things set up to cover those fees? And if you don't, a lot of those will be lost. So there will be great opportunities coming because boomers are our greatest generation. They're the largest ones, and they are, you know, getting up in age, and they will start passing. When that happens, are we, the children of the next generation, going to be able to step up and take over what they're leaving? And if they cannot, other people will. So there's opportunities, you know, depending as business owners, as entrepreneurs, there will be a lot of businesses for sale. You know, you can set yourself up to purchase some. And on the same side, there will be a lot of businesses for sale. Will the family be able to receive them? And not forgetting, look at funeral homes. There's many funeral homes that the children want nothing to do with the business. Now, what happens? You've worked so hard for this business, and if no one wants to take over, what is your succession plan? It's important that we set these things in place, and if not, this next turn, this is a very big turn for businesses, for the population, will be different, right? So we'll need to take advantage of that.
I couldn't agree more. Succession planning and social acquisitions is something that our community struggles with, but there's a huge opportunity in terms of so many businesses. I remember when Ashanti Room, which was on Bathurst, closed down. My wife and I were so sad. This is a Black business that was around on Bathurst for generations, or even Third World Bookstore. And once again, like family members not being able to take over the business and community not being well positioned enough to be able to either put together the capital or just insert capital and facilitate a social acquisition or some form of investment. So once again, I couldn't agree more. Thanks for your leadership. So then my next question, what is your ultimate goal? And what does success look like and feel like to you and your colleagues?
Well, that's easy. My ultimate goal, this is beyond now, right? First of all, it's just sharing this message, and that's easy because we're already there. So check, complete. Number two, though, my ultimate goal is to create a space, especially for the Black community. I talked a little bit about my dad before, but creating a space for us to age well, right? Be it a home, be it a community area for Black seniors to be able to eat food that they're accustomed to, for them to be able to exist in a space where they're catered to, as opposed to having, jerk chicken one day, like where they're actually cared for. And that is my next goal. That's what I'm working towards. But in that as well, that's the big goals here. But in that, it's taking advantage. You mentioned Antigua before. Some of us have estates that will be passed to us from overseas. We have estates that will pass for us from the States, different places. So really taking it, this is my next part here, is taking advantage of those opportunities. We just talked about succession plans in businesses, but we're going to have the opportunity of succession plans in land acquisition, in homes, in different things throughout the world, throughout the Caribbean, throughout the States. So taking advantage of those is also key. Because as much as we love being here in Canada, there are opportunities in the Caribbean and other countries where our dollars will go further and we'll be able to do more, right? So really bridging those gaps, kind of being this new generation saying, okay, our parents came here, thank you, but how do we now use a little bit of both? And rather than just existing, but thriving with that. So leaving my legacy, my ultimate goal is really sharing this message and creating spaces where we can exist and be catered to. That's my goal.
That's beautiful. And there's far too many people I know existing and not thriving. And definitely what you just said, I want to turn that into a reel. I mean, and I couldn't agree more, family. Thank you so much for all those actionable insights and jewels. So my last question before we go to a Q&A, what is your do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our listeners, for our attendees, for the folks here today?
Absolutely. So I have a couple of things. One, you can go to my website, go to it's www.ewwm.ca. So endingwellwithminnelle.ca, ewwm.ca. And there you can sign up for a consultation. And we can go over the 3 Ps just for yourself so you understand what's important for your planning. But also you can also sign up to be the first to see the legacy story when it's released. It's going to be released next month, so you can already get started with that. And it's beautiful. It's an AI-driven ability to take your stories. You're just going to enter some stories, and then we're going to create a beautiful legacy magazine that you can share with family. And I'd love to see people doing that with their seniors, right? Really sharing those stories. So definitely do those 2 things. Reach out if I can help, because the more that we talk about this, the better it is for all of us. So use this to tell someone else to get their legacies planned.
Listen, you make our ancestors proud, my beloved sister. You do the work. You inspire me all the time, and I'm just honored to be your brother and to be able to call you and contact you when need be. And just feel so, like I feel honored because so many people are in this session right now. Like we started, and now there's 53 people in the middle of a day, which is incredible. So right now we want to open up the floor for questions and answers. And we really want folks to raise your hand if you can use the raise your hand feature, or put the question inside the chat box. But we want to really make sure that, and remember, this is not a place of judgment. This is a safe space, but it's also a brave space, a courageous space. Far too many of our legends don't leave a will, they leave a bill. Far too many of our elders and seniors don't leave a will, they leave a bill. Far too many of our people transition and there's GoFundMes that made no sense. So we saw how they were living. So I'm saying we have the opportunity to ask questions to someone that's seasoned. That's, oh, I see hands up. Wonderful. So let me get to the questions. Sister Effia, go ahead, sis.
Hi. Once again, thank you for being on. Definitely appreciate it. I just wanted to ask again, being an entrepreneur in Canada, like, what are some of the key considerations that one should make regarding like their estates and planning to ensure that the business transition is smooth, and then to minimize the tax implications for their family after their death, after the person's death?
Absolutely. Great question. Thank you. I think there's two aspects, right? As Canadians, we have our personal legacy and we have our business, right? Two aspects. So you might need to have a will and you might need to have a succession plan for yourself, of course, but you might also need to have one for your business. So you might need to have two wills. You also need to have that conversation when it comes to taxes. What will I do to mitigate the taxes? Because when somebody passes in Canada, it's called as though you have sold everything that you own, right? So if you've sold your business, now you're going to end up paying taxes on that in essence. So you'll need to make sure that you have the funds available so that you can do that. Now, in this case, you're going to speak to a lawyer to set up your estate for your business. You will speak to a tax professional or an accountant to ensure that you have the proper tax planning set in place for your business, and make sure you have the proper insurances to cover that as well. Now, when you're doing your business setup, some people, there's different things. You'll talk to specific professionals for each one. I can't give legal advice here, but make sure that you have, if you've got a corporation, decide how are you going to set up your shares so that your business can transfer in such a way, right? So there's different ways that you can set up your business so that it will transfer and you can limit or reduce how much taxes you'll need to pay. That's important, where you sit down and go over those details. And the first most important thing to do before you even worry about taxes after you pass is making sure that you have someone who will act on your behalf if you're not able to, right? So you have that next person, whether it's a business partner or whether you have your power of attorneys or things like that set up for your business, so that someone can speak if you're not able to. Because worst thing should happen, that maybe you haven't passed, but you're ill and your business can't continue. So set that up.
That's incredible. Great question, Sister Effia. Thank you. And Minnelle, I appreciate that. Once again, that needs to become a reel. Our people need that information in a bite-sized chunk. I mean, so thank you so much for your diligence. Yes. Brother Asim, go ahead.
Good day, Minnelle. So I'm curious on your initial interest. Did something occur that caused you to be more interested in this death planning, or was it a gradual growth of interest?
Interesting. Most people, I'm going to tell you my story here. A lot of people wonder why I got into death, end of life. And it's not that I had any experience. Nobody close to me died for many years after I'd already been in the industry or after I'd already been a licensed funeral director. I started in this industry. My mother always thought I was strange. Just as a child, I was always interested in death. So a lot of people in the industry will say this isn't something you just fall into, it's something you're called into. And I know that that is true for me because I've always been about death. What I wanted to do, though, was to actually get into autopsies and find out why someone passed, all of that. But the more I learned about that, I realized I won't be able to sleep at night. I can't even watch Criminal Minds, so I don't know why I thought I could do that role. So I came back to funeral services and really focused there. Now, I'm a licensed funeral director. Everything from embalmings, taking out services, all of that, I can do it all. And I've done it for years. But in doing that job, I would see the same families, right? If the same person has passed, if their children have passed, and then another child passed, they're coming to talk to me. And in that, I realized, okay, hold on. We need a little bit more support. And that's why I got into pre-planning, right? Let's get things arranged and paid for so you're not doing the GoFundMe's and you can do your funeral plan, have that all set aside. And then I realized, okay, we need a little bit more help before the funeral planning. And that's why I got into this is different. That's why I got into the death doula aspect. The death doula aspect now is where we're going to talk about what does that look like? What does that room look like for you? You know, if you're home, if you're at the hospital, do you want to mitigate who's actually coming in to see you, how often they're coming in to see you, whether someone's in bed with you, whether they're touching you, who's going to give your family some respite care, some time to actually sleep rather than burning out while trying to care for you? You know, like that's why I got into that side, because we needed more support in that. And then same thing happened with the certified executor assistant. Now you start seeing, okay, the person has passed, but we could have set this up easier for the family. We could have set it so that you're actually passing on finances. You could have done so much to share and not to pass on that tax, not to pass on that bill. And so this is why I became the certified executor assistant. Now I'm talking to families saying, here's something to consider so that your family is going to receive a gift rather than a briefcase full of mess. Let's organize our affairs. Let's talk about the cell phones, your emails, your Facebooks, your Apples, and get your legacy set up so that someone actually has access to your email after you've passed, rather than not doing anything. Then that beautiful Facebook account that has all of these million followers and has all of the leads for all your business, you pass and no one has access to it. There are ways to set it up so that that doesn't happen. So that's kind of how I got into this and where I ended up where I am. My long story to Minnelle today. Okay.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for your leadership, Asim, and your brilliance as always, Minnelle. I remember learning about probate tax the hard way.
Yes.
And the probate tax is a tax when you die. I mean, and it was a very challenging season for myself and my wife, having to navigate a tax we had never heard of, and we were in our 20s. So definitely, this is really important information. Mandy, your hand is up. Go ahead, Mandy. And I see some questions in the chat. We'll get to you in a second. Go ahead, Mandy.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mandy, and I relate to my brother Victor Beausoleil. I am so thankful for all the things you had shared with us, because that means a lot to us. And don't make fun of me, but I'm very sensitive, emotional, something that I cannot be able to share when that time comes, meaning when anyone will pass away or if anything happened to me. So my question to you, how do you really able to express or talk about it if anything happened in the future?
Okay. For myself or for yourself? How do I speak about it, or how can you?
Anyways, okay. Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'll tell you both. So what I find is important is, for myself, I'm helping families through the process. I can't go through the process with you, but I can help you through. And so it makes it a little easier for me because I create a little separation. I can empathize, but I'm still helping you, allowing you that time that you need to grieve, to feel. And I'm here as a shoulder, but I'm not feeling it all with you. And it's important for me to be able to separate those. Now, as a friend, if you're caring for somebody, it's the same thing. You need to decide on yourself. How much can I handle? How can I be supportive? Perhaps I want to be that phone call. For me, you can call me anytime. Call, sit in silence, talk, cry, whatever it might be, I'm here. But perhaps for yourself, I'm not comfortable with those calls because I'm going to be feeling what you're feeling and I'm going to be crying with you, like I can't do that. But if someone's passed, I can send a gift basket. I can show up and I can clean. I can pick up the kids and take them to the park for the day just so that you have a moment to scream, cry, feel whatever you need to feel, right? So finding that way to be supportive of someone that works for you is key. And I would also just encourage everyone, if you're ever supporting or around someone who has lost a loved one or lost a friend, just take some time before you meet with them to think of what you might say. Because a lot of times I'm in this industry and still it's weird, it's uncomfortable, you don't know what to say. And sometimes if you don't know what to say, it's okay to be there in silence. It's perfectly fine.
Thank you so much, Mandy, for your leadership, and thank you, Minnelle, for your brilliance. There's a similar question in the chat. How could we have these conversations with our family when in our culture the topic is so taboo? And we talked about this earlier, like there's folks right now in the Caribbean, across Africa, across the Black diaspora that are sick, know they're gonna die, and they're not telling anyone anything. So So back to the question, 'cause I want to make sure we get to everyone's question. How can we have these conversations with our family when in our culture the topic is so taboo?
And there's an episode of the television show Insecure where they're sitting down with the father and they're trying to talk about estates, and he doesn't want to talk about it. One of the sons is trying to run away and go to the store and avoid it. Another one of the sons is talking about anything else. Like, we avoid it like the plague. I think there's a few things we can do. One, use this moment, because we have to, with this one, you have to kind of act quickly on it while the fire is hot, in essence. We just talked about it now. Go to your loved one. Hey, I just sat through a session. They were talking about legacy planning. She said a lot of things I didn't even think about. Can we talk about X? Do you have a will? Right? That's number one. Number two, when talking to our parents, when we're talking to anyone, empower them. Listen, I'm not saying that I'm worried about what's in your account. I'm not saying that I'm scared or anything like that, that I want your money. I just want to make sure and use if they're, your parents, but if you know that they're concerned about you, they want you to be well. I'm concerned that I'm going to be so overwhelmed at the time that you're sick or when you pass. Like, I don't want to have to stress about where your documents are. Can we talk about this? And maybe not today, but can we plan to talk about this on Sunday and then do it? Right. So having those, I like to say, use little conversations to get people comfortable. Okay, talk with the will. That's typically where people can start. That's an easy thing. They can separate it. Okay, I just had a funeral. Do you have yours? And then use yourself to start the process. I'm going to sit down and do my will. Can you come? Right? That's a key way to do it, because one, you have to get it done anyway. And now you're going to bring a family member or friend along with you. So definitely, because so many times people just, us, we don't want to talk about it. We want to avoid, we want to live our lives, we want to be at peace. But we know the mess that will come afterwards. So tell them about that mess. And that helps to encourage them to actually act.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for those sentiments. And I think sometimes we as a people, we're a people of oral tradition and storytelling. I know that my wife and I and our children one time were talking about the same topic. And I remembered a comedian that told a joke. And it was so funny. He was saying that, something almost happened to him and his wife was scared and they hugged and cried about what if something happened to him? Would her and the children be okay? And he gave her a key. And he said, this is the key to a safe deposit box. If anything happens to me, go to that box. And then he turns to the audience and says, she went to the box, even though I'm still alive. So he feels violated because she went to the box while he's alive. But the bigger violation was the box was empty. There was nothing in it. And he told her, listen, if you tell these jokes just right, you and the kids will be all right. And I think like sometimes when we bring humor to a situation that sometimes is there's a lot of anxiety and trepidation around it. It sometimes can mellow things, but the point is we have to have these conversations as families, as communities, as a nation, or else we're going to be in that perpetual cycle of every generation starting from scratch, which is so problematic. There's another question in the chat. Are there any government programs or tax incentives in Canada that specifically benefit entrepreneurs who are proactively planning their estates and business succession?
There are tax advantages and options available for those without, right? So just so everyone knows, if anyone passes and they do not have and if the funds to bury themselves or anything like that, the government will take care of. That's not what I want for anybody, but it is available if the need should arise. On the business owners, on the entrepreneur side, off the top of my head, I cannot think of any right now, but that is something that I will take away to see, because I'm just thinking here. I would say the only, they want their money, right? So the only thing I would say is by setting it up in advance. So whether you're choosing to have family in your business line, whether you're choosing to use stocks or something like that to pass your business rather than closing, selling, and then having someone purchase, that might be an option. Really just tax planning would be the best benefit that you have rather than incentives. But I will look into that and let you know if I find anything.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So the next question is from Sister Malizia. Malizia, good to see you. I didn't even know you're here, fam. I remember talking to my father about life insurance, and he started saying we wanted to die early.
100%.
with patience, you have to force those conversations. I couldn't agree more, sis. It's so true. Thank you so much for that insight, your vulnerability, and your consistent leadership. So appreciate you, Melissa. Sandra, and Sandra, you're on camera. Good to see you, family. We appreciate you. Sandra, any tips on where we can get a will and power of attorney done for a reasonable price, as this can be quite expensive? Yeah, very true.
Yeah, absolutely. You have many options when it comes to doing a will. Depends on your estate, depends on what your situation is like. Something is simple, maybe you don't have children, I don't know, whatever your situation is. Number one, you can go to a lawyer. Number one, lawyers will range, probably about $1,000 if you're looking at a will. It can be less, it can be more. Just know that that's in Ontario what you're looking at for a will. There are options like Clear Estate. Clear Estate is a company that is online, and they have lawyers, they have tax professionals, and those professionals as well. And you can, they're not all there, but they are on my checklist. So if you go in if you send me the message, I'll send you my checklist. All of them are there. Clear Estate is one. Then there's things like Willful. Willful is a very simple will. Again, it's an online will. If you have a simple estate, that's $100. It's $99 for the will, like $180 for the will and the power of attorney documents. You can get all of those done. What you need versus whether you get the willful or will like that completed is different. So regardless, I would suggest you start with speaking to a lawyer. Some will offer those free consults to determine whether that option is sufficient for you or not. I will tell you, as a business owner, plug and play will might not include all the items that you're going to need to ensure your business is successfully passed. And you're talking about a will, that's one document. You still also have to include your taxes, your tax professional accountant, right? You want to ensure you have the insurances, a financial advisor or someone of that side as well, to make sure that is covered. So economical, yes, but you also want to make sure it's covered all aspects of what you need. There's also like a holograph will. If you're talking to our parents and nobody wants to do anything, I like to say, if you can do something today, right now, before you even make that call or anything, you write it down, create a holograph will. You just write it, sign it, date it, it's yours, it will count. At least you've written down some wishes. It is a terrible option, but it is something if you have nothing at all.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a terrible option. It is an option. Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Sandra. I appreciate you and for attending it seems like the entire series. You're incredible. We appreciate you, sis. And thank you, Minnelle, for a remarkable response. So this will be our last question, and it's comprehensive. So with the growing trend of online businesses in Canada, what unique challenges and considerations do online entrepreneurs face when it comes to estate planning? How can they effectively address issues such as intellectual property ownership, digital assets, and online business continuity in their estate plans? Great question.
That's a huge question. Absolutely. Okay, so there's, especially when it comes to digital assets, cryptocurrencies, all of those, a lot of things, legislation are coming, but they are not all here as yet. Right? I will speak in general terms. Please speak again to your lawyers to get specific information. At least on your business side, and now on your emails, on your data list, things like that, you can set up, if that provider has, like let's say it's an email, you can set up your legacy, right? You can determine who will have access to your emails after you have passed. Things like your passwords. I know there's many people who are talking about different ways that you should be storing, saving, whatever your passwords, whether they are written down or whatever you choose to do. Ensure that those who are going to be going over and taking over your business have the tools required to access your business. So I can't say, okay, write down all your passwords and hand them to them, because is it legal for them to now take this paper with all your passwords and actually access your documents? No. What will people do? We're in this in-between stage right now while we're determining what actually can be done. I would say definitely set up. I'm not sure if Shopify, if things like that have legacy platforms integrated in them as yet. Find out if they do and push for them to set those up. Because as all of these are starting, everyone's doing their drop shipping, we have different things. If you don't have anything in place, you can always have your will right? Your will can always encompass your business, whether it's an online business, whether it's brick and mortar business, whatever it is, your will can determine, okay, I would like my business to go to X person. If you have shares, whoever has the next portion of shares, they will take over your business, right? So there's always a way of doing succession that way. But on the digital side, it's really important that you're writing down on the platform who you want to take over for you. Or, we might look at partnerships or things like that. Again, this is something you're going to go over the specifics with your lawyer to make sure that that's set up properly. I think a lot of us, especially as entrepreneurs, like to do things by ourselves. It's I am the cook, bottle washer, and everything. But when it comes to succession planning, perhaps you might think of bringing in the next generation sooner, right? There's different ways that we can do that. And then on the funeral director side, I'd just like to say, hey, I push to talk to us. I talk to people of my age, younger, older, and throughout, because we like to think that I'm going to plan for my business succession, when I'm grown and aged, but we don't know what the future holds. So setting things up now so that we don't have to worry about it in the future is key. Do it now and then move on from there. I know it's I haven't given you as much, I'm sure, as you would have wanted to have had, but digital assets right now are new and it's a big field. I just finished reading your Digital Executor. It's a good book if you want it. It talks to you about how to do the same thing, how to pass on your digital assets.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for everything, Minnelle. You never disappoint us. You always show up and show out. Yeah, and I just give thanks for the deep, comprehensive wisdom, guidance, and all the actual insights you provide to anyone that I put in front of you. And today, once again, you never disappoint. And I just give thanks for all that you do for so many. The way you represent us, the way you represent our community, you make our ancestors proud, and I'm proud to be your brother, my beloved sister. I give thanks. So we're gonna close this session the way we began, by giving thanks, as always, to our creator. We give thanks to the original stewards of the various lands we're on. We give thanks to all our elders, all our ancestors, all our community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. Any closing words, Minnelle?
I thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. Thank you for making me feel like family. Thank you to everyone for being engaged in this conversation, because my passion is to have these moments where we share this space and feel comfortable in it. So I honor you. I thank you for the work you're doing for the community. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate you. Reach out if I can help just to talk. I'm here. This is my passion. So anytime.
Peace and blessings, fam. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.